Hey, how are you, friend? So good to see you, and I'm so glad you're here. You want a cup of coffee? I thought we could just sit down and have a chat. Come on. Hello. This is Marcia Faith Harper. Welcome back to the 4th episode of the Coffee Friends Today podcast. I'm so glad that you came back this time. We had a great time on our last episode with my friend Mickey Cole Jr. talking about space science and stargazing and some of the upcoming expeditions and scientific ventures in the whole realm of space science. A bit of a left turn from the episode before that, where we talked about audio engineering with my friend Matt. As you've probably gathered, this show kind of goes all over the place as far as the topic. But as I said in our first episode, this show, its main purpose is to explore some of the topics and some of the people that I feel like should be showcased more than they are. And we're starting really within my tightest circle of influence, my friends, and starting today, my family. I want to introduce you guys to my best friend since day one, my older sister, Melody McBride, SHRM CP, and that stands for Society for Human Resource Management Certified Professional. She's the real deal, guys. She has worked in HR and business for the past 5 years, and she has so much incredible wisdom and knowledge to share, and I can't wait for you to meet her. So without further ado, let's get to know my big sister, Melody. How would you describe yourself, what you are, what you do?
Well, I'm a Scorpio. I am an HR professional who has been in the profession for a little over 3.5 years. And in order to become a SHRM certified professional, there's some prerequisites that you have to meet, a certain amount of experience that you have to have, and then you have to study and take a 4-hour, 160 question exam in order to obtain that certification. So it's just a culmination of your HR knowledge and experience. And it's a way for people to kind of understand that you know more than just what you've learned in your, everyday tasks. So you understand compliance and that you can help a business.
So you've worked in HR for the past 5 years, and you've recently kind of switched gears a little bit. So what are you doing right now?
So I had an awesome opportunity to take a step back from working in stores, in operations. With COVID, it's changed a lot of people's career trajectory. And so for me, it wasn't actually because of COVID, but I decided to take a step back, and I am working full-time from home, recruiting for operators all over the United States, working with an external recruiting firm. So it's a way for me to be able to use my HR knowledge and my love for the business that I've been a part of for many, many years, and still be able to make an impact.
And it means that you get to spend more time with the fam.
So really, that was what triggered it. We knew that it was going to be a long time coming for me to ultimately fulfill my dream of being a leader and being at home. And so that meant that I had to work. I had to put the time in. And now that I've done that, it's really opened up some awesome opportunities for me to be at home and really creating a lifestyle that works for me not just one where we're pursuing career and financial stability.
So the theme of this episode is sustainable professional lifestyles, and that is also the theme of your blog, High Heels and Banana Peels, your Instagram account, also at High Heels and Banana Peels. Go follow her. It's amazing. It's awesome. It's super inspiring. And this is the theme that keeps coming up over and over again. How would you define or describe what it means to have a sustainable professional lifestyle? What does that look like? What is that?
Yeah, I think when people think about sustainability, they think about it in the terms of our environment and the world, and that is awesome. We only get one planet, we only get one home, but we also only get one body and one life. And so when I think about living a sustainable lifestyle, I think about making decisions for continued growth, for continued success. What can I do today that's going to set me up for long-term success?
So when you're talking about having a sustainable professional lifestyle, it's really holistic in the sense of like, am I doing this just to get to the next paycheck? Am I doing this just to hit the next tier in my career field? Or is this something where my life as a whole looks in a way that not only am I happy with, but I can keep this up for the next several decades, at least until this season of my career, leads into something else.
I think that sometimes it's so easy to get stuck in these cycles of we're pushing for the next thing and we want the next thing. And I think that's awesome. Like, I am all about being a leader, and especially being like a girl boss. Like, I'm all about these women in leadership positions who are just empowering other women to reach their full potential. And for me, my full potential looks like being able to be a wife and a mom someday, and be a business leader and be a good daughter. And there's so many roles that I want to be successful at. But I have to balance all of that. I went through a season where I was just pushing too hard, and I was sick all the time. And part of our story is that we have dealt with infertility, and so we really had to get to a point where we were stable in our finances and able to sustain it. But I have career goals, I have things that I want to do, but ultimately I want to make the most of every moment. And so to do that, I have to make decisions every day that I can sustain long term. We had to push to get to a point where I could make these decisions. So I know it kind of is like a pipe dream for some people. Like, oh, I'd love to be able to do that and stay at home and work from home. And that's like the dream. That is the dream. But we had to work to get here. Yeah. And so when I think about my professional life and, having to push to get to where I was, when it comes down to it, I think about, okay, am I going to get where I want to be in 6 months faster to kill myself for the next 2 years? Or can I give myself that extra 6 months, let myself take a nap every once in a while, let myself go and have some time with some girlfriends, and actually, like you're saying, like create that whole holistic wellness lifestyle? And that really starts for most of us with where we get our income. And so if we don't have that financial stability, we're not going to be able to create sustainable lifestyles. So sometimes that means pushing hard in your career, and sometimes that means living paycheck to paycheck to get to, taking those small steps. But that's why I talk about continued growth, because this is the long game. This is not we're pushing to get there. This is let's see how we can make this work long term. I had to say no to some areas in my life so that later on I could say yes to all the areas I wanted to say yes to. So I had to say no to the super nice car. When Rob and I got married, we sold my little car that I had had all through college and lived on one car for the first, I think it was our first year and a half of being married, and we took some jobs that we didn't love because we knew that long term it was going to put us in a position where we could take some of the jobs that we wanted to take, and we could make that sustainability a long-term lifestyle.
You've said several times in the conversations that we've had that I'm kind of where you were 5 years ago. I'm kind of in a place where I am, in that push mode where I'm needing to set up a solid foundation so I can start making those choices, so I can make the choice you're making now when it's right for me. It's uncomfortable. It can be very uncomfortable. I think a lot of times, whether we're talking about sustainability for the planet, the whole zero waste lifestyle that we see all over Instagram and all this stuff, we always see the Pinterest worthy, really aesthetically pleasing side of it that makes us feel good. But it's work. It's super hard work. And it's a lot of uncomfortable decisions, and it takes a lot of patience.
Patience, but I think it also, the hardest part for us has not been the big moves. The hardest part has been the discipline to create consistency. Because if you can create discipline, I actually posted this on my Instagram this morning, that when motivation runs out, discipline takes over. And so if we don't have that, because we're motivated, we have this vision of what we want our life to look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if we cannot make those small choices every single day to create consistency and have discipline to have that consistency, we are not, it's the tortoise and the hare.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can't be the tortoise, it doesn't matter how much of a hare we are, because in the end of it, we're just going to be a donkey, right? So, sorry. I mean, and you know what? There are some people who are able to be the hare, and they're very successful. And I don't want to discount that, but I would say the majority of the people that I have met with, and my mentors, and people that I look up to, created the lifestyles that they had because they took that tortoise mentality of creating consistency and building sustainability.
In a lot of ways, we've kind of already answered this question, but just I want to go a little deeper into it. Where did this idea initially come from for you? When was the first time you said, I want to live a sustainable professional lifestyle? What does that journey look like for you? Have you always used that term necessarily, or kind of how has that evolved?
I'm a very get it done, drive, make things happen kind of person. Like, anybody that has worked with me knows I am not afraid to call it like I see it.
Yup.
I am not and you've lived but even in my professional life, I've always been very driven, and I'm not afraid to stand up and say that I want more. And so I wouldn't say that I've always wanted a sustainable lifestyle. I think that this has been, or a sustainable professional lifestyle. I think that's been kind of an evolving mindset that I've had to come to terms with, especially with our journey with infertility. And that impacts your professional life. Like every part of your life impacts every other part of your life. If you've got stuff going on in your extended family, if there's a death in your family, if there are good things that are happening in your family, if you have a family member that loses a job, like you have to think about the fact that that impacts your ability to do your job, even if it's just taking some thought time away from what the task that's in front of you. So to answer your question, it hasn't always been something that has been a priority for me, but when it hasn't been a priority, I've had to make it a priority because I've either burned out or I've gotten sick or my marriage has just dwindled. And we want that to flourish, right? We want all of these relationships in our lives to flourish. It kind of has been an evolving thing. And I heard no to a lot of really great opportunities in my career. And as I started hearing no to being a mom, no to some really big name companies, I would get all the way to the end of interviews. And the interview processes and get on-site interviews and go to the final interview and would be told no. And I just thought, you know what, there's a reason for this. And it really came down to there were some other areas in my life that I was neglecting to focus on my career.
Let's say that someone is either in sort of my position or just in that kind of hamster wheel of I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I have this big dream for my life. I don't really know how to start living this way. Because in a lot of ways, like you were saying, like to be able to make the decisions to live sustainably sometimes can feel a little bit inaccessible when you're feeling panicked, when you're feeling like I have to do this and I have to keep all these plates spinning or everything's just going to go out of control. What would you say would be a good best practice first step in making that transition?
Yeah, in my experience, lack of preparation creates desperation. If we're not thinking ahead and staying prepared, we can't create something that's sustainable because we're constantly just grasping and reacting to everything that's coming at us. Or I like to say in my blogs, our banana peels, right? Banana peels are going to come up, whether, again, that's a death in the family or a loss of job or whatever, stuff is going to come up. And we have to be in that mindset that, hey, it's going to happen, but this is my goal and this is my vision and this is how I'm going to deal with it. I love Monday mornings. And I know that's so weird. Like people are like, you're just an idiot. Some people do it Fridays, some people do it Mondays. For me, I like to get up Monday morning and really just spend intentional time thinking about my week. And in January every year, my husband and I sit down and go, what are our financial goals for this year? What trips are we going to take this year? What steps are we going to take this year? So that really just comes back to that lack of preparation creates desperation. There's a book called Atomic Habits, and it talks about how a lot of times we create goals, but the people who are most effective create systems to get to those goals. And so if you want something that is sustainable, you're going to have to find what system works for you. And that looks different for everybody. Like for me, I realized that getting up in the morning and walking is just an awesome way for me to get into a good headspace. I've done something productive for the day. I've been creative, and it helps me to kind of refresh my vision for the day and for my life.
It's the corpuscles corpuscling, as we say at the Springer Theater Academy.
Yes. I've never heard that before, but we're
Never
gonna.
said that before. Yes, that's a Springerism. The
I
corpuscles are corpuscling.
it's yeah, getting the gears moving for sure. What are you doing to motivate yourself and kind of create that motivation? Because it's more than just discipline. 'Cause sometimes discipline can get monotonous.
Mm.
So, what are you doing to try to revamp that vision? Another thing that I would recommend for people who are trying to take that first step is find mentors. Find people who are in the degree field that you want to go into or who are in the career field that you want to change into and who have done it for 20 years and who have successful marriages and who have or relationships or if you are not interested in long-term relationships who just have kind of what you envision for yourself, like find those people, network with those people, build that network for yourself and reach out to them because I can assure you they would be so happy to talk with you and help you build those systems to get where you want to go.
I absolutely want to second that because in my personal experience, like the majority of what I've learned that I've been able to tangibly use in my career, in my lifestyle, whenever I've had a really burning question about where I want to go in life and what I want to do, when I have found a person, even if they're not exactly where I want to go, if they have just that, I can see they have just a nugget of wisdom, just a tiny little piece of what I want. And I have just invited them to sit down for a cup of coffee. It's one of the reasons why I started this podcast because I missed that.
So good.
When I invited them to sit down for a cup of coffee and I just asked them to share their experience and their story with me and just followed up with a couple of questions, like it is that mentorship and it is that like finding, okay, so what worked for you? And I was able to take just the little pieces of that. And obviously, like I can never like copy anybody else's journey, and you never really want to because then you're trying to be someone else. But I was able to get so much further because I felt like my field of vision just expanded. And I was able to avoid, I feel like, some rookie mistakes, which is a pet peeve of mine. I hate making rookie mistakes. So any way that I can find somebody to say, hey, like, maybe don't step on the net because you're going to end up in the tree. I try to take those opportunities. And
the benefit for both of us being third and fourth children is that we've been able to learn from our older siblings.
Nope.
So shout out to the older M bunch. Learn to learn from other people's
learn to learn from other people. Absolutely. And also from their successes too. I mean, one of the reasons why I moved was because Melody invited me, so that because she wanted to be a part of my life in a mentorship way. So and she and Robert have done that, and the last 3 months have been absolutely life-changing. They've been intensely uncomfortable for me because I've been in a new place, working something that's not my degree field, even though it is an incredible opportunity, and I get to meet a lot of cool people, and I get to serve people, which is all stuff that I absolutely love doing. But also just the accountability has been beneficial and uncomfortable. And that's part of what we were talking about earlier is a lot of these habits that you have to form. In order to form those habits, you have to break habits. And that is hard.
Yeah, I think when you live a life that is sustainable, when I think about that, I think about creating joy and fulfilling purpose.
Mm.
sometimes there are banana peels that come up in our lives that keep us from living our purpose. And that can be financial, it can be emotional, it can be relational, just these brick walls, in a sense, that come up in our lives that we have to stare down and say, listen, I am going to, one day at a time, work my way to the person that I want to be, to the purpose that I want to build. And so climbing that ladder one small step at a time is my heart, to help other people who have been in positions that I've been in, where I didn't always see the light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't always see the life that I wanted as a possibility, but it's possible. One day at a time, one small decision at a time, because even a small decision is a step in the right direction. And if you just give up, throw your hands in the air and say, I'm never going to live the life I want to live, then you're not. You have to decide to live the life you want to live and to fulfill your purpose every single day. I love to be able to speak from my experiences and share that with others.
I just want to point out, obviously this is a podcast, so none of you can see like what I'm seeing right now because we're on a Zoom call in two different rooms of the apartment, so we can record this. But behind her is her wall of shoes, her high heels. And I just think that that's so appropriate, especially given the name of her blog and her personal brand is high heels and banana peels. How perfect that I would be looking at her shoe collection right now.
Shoes, guys, my shoes have traveled all over with me. And for those of you who don't know, Marsha and I are both over 5'9", and so we don't.
All girls.
It's so funny because we're like, we don't really need them, but for me, I feel confident and like better about myself when I wear my high heels, and so it's just a representation of confidence and professionalism that some women are never going to wear high heels and they feel totally comfortable and they feel totally confident, and I think that is awesome. For me, I love wearing my heels. I love rocking them, but there are some days when even when I'm wearing my high heels, there's banana peels that come in the way, and that's okay, and we're just going to handle it one step at a time. Do an analysis. Do a personal analysis of 2 areas that you want to improve in your life. And it can be as simple as, I'm going to walk a mile, or I am going to drink water, a gallon of water. I mean, something small. But what are those small habits that long term are going to make big differences for you and help you build that sustainable lifestyle?
And I second that challenge. 1, 2, 3. Is there anyone that you would like to acknowledge?
I talk about mentors in this episode, and I really appreciate all of the mentors that have invested in me ever since I was growing up, from my dance teacher to the first job that I had working as a photo assistant, to the lifeguard crew that I worked with, and all of the operators and business leaders who have given me opportunities to learn lessons and to grow and to put me in a position where now I can give back. I just really want to shout out to all of them and my husband for getting me out of my comfort zone sometimes, because that's important to have someone that's on your side supporting you, but that is willing to get you out of your comfort zone. So thank you to everyone who has gotten me here and taught me some life lessons along the way.
I want to acknowledge my big sister Melody for being my mentor, my gatekeeper, my inspiration, my person to go and vent to, who will let me cry but also tell me to stop crying and tell me how to fix my problem. It's always been so great. And I just
I
appreciate
get really
it.
awkward with crying, so I do my best to just like give a hug and be like, "You're gonna be great."
She pats me on my head and she gives me a warm cup of tea and she tells me to go examine my life, and it's very helpful.
Or go take a nap because we all
Go take a nap, yes. So if you would like to follow Melody on any social media, follow her blog, all of that stuff, and you absolutely should because she is phenomenal.
Yeah, so we are on Facebook, on Instagram, and we have a blog that is linked on all of those, and super exciting. The 1st of October, we are going live with our website, highheelsandbananapeels.com. So excited. We're going to have a lot of resources for people who need help with budgeting and with creating systems and creating schedules, and just some resources for people who want to create those.
Downloadable stuff.
Yes, exactly. All downloadable, so super easily accessible. And we are also booking for speaking engagements starting in 2021. So very exciting stuff. Very happy to be able to, again, be able to give back and share my experiences with women and leaders and businesses and their teams.
Melody McBride, SHRM CP, ladies and gentlemen. Melody, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for making me coffee. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, anytime.